Hey, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money, and in this episode, I am going to be doing a food review. Now, this food review is going to be different from any of my other food reviews because I don't think y'all remember. It was, I believe, last year. I did an episode and I was talking about this restaurant, and I actually did, and this was before I started doing my food reviews, and I did an episode and I was at a park. This is matter of fact, I'm in Coral Gables, and this is a restaurant that I did where I told you the situation. So I'm going to do a food review and I'm going to show you this restaurant. This is a shopping center here. We are going to show you exactly where the restaurant is, and y'all can hate me for this, or y'all may not like me for this. This is called Super Pizzeria Subs right here. This is the place. It is off of Southwest 32nd Avenue near Coral Way. Coral Way is right there, and this is Southwest 32nd Avenue. Now, if y'all remember, it was probably a year ago or so, I don't remember the situation, where I came here to get something to eat. And you know, I'm a big fan of Italian restaurants and, you know, Italian places and stuff like that. So this is owned by Spanish people, because this is predominantly a Spanish area. And this was around the time I think I was going to the Miracle Marketplace. I did a video on Miracle Marketplace, which is a place that has a Hooters, a Dollar Tree, and several other shops, and I did a episode there. And I came here to get something to eat, and you know, I wanted to try their food. I came in there was a bunch of, you know, minorities, which was Latin and Spanish and probably Cubans that was here in this restaurant. I stood over here for about a good 10 minutes in the restaurant. Nobody did not want to serve me. They were serving everybody else. People was getting their beers, and you know, it was like everybody was having a good time laughing. You know, I felt like this was a good location. You know, this is a good place. You know, let me try their food. It says hot oven pizza and subs right there. It says all that. For about a good 10 minutes or so, I sat there. Nobody came to me and actually wanted to actually serve me. And it got to the point where I got frustrated and I left. I mean, I even went to the front counter, and the people, they were sitting there making the pizzas, putting the pizzas in the boxes and doing all this other stuff. Nobody did say, hi, might I take your order, or nothing. And I got real frustrated. So what I ended up doing was, I just left. You know, I left. I don't remember the time of day it was. I just left. And it got to the point where it was people coming in as well and stuff like that. I know right here on this corner right here, it's called As Zuka or whatever, which is a gay nightclub. And I know, you know, probably at night, that's when the gay people, they come over and they eat. I don't know how late this is open or anything and stuff like that. And I've been inside this little mini market because it's also a dollar store, and I went in there and I purchased me a drink or something like that or whatever. I just ended up going somewhere else and finding me something to eat. But they did not serve me, and I ended up going on Google and I did a bad review about them. And I believe it was the next day or so, I ended up doing an episode talking about not only this, but restaurants in general. And I talked about my incident. And I wanted to come out here to say, let me come out here and do a food review for this place. Now, for some of you who lives here and have been to this restaurant, I want to know, what was your experience? For me, I had a horrible experience. First of all, when you see somebody coming into a place, like I was just at a place earlier called, and I should have did a food review of that, called Ricky's Bakery. And it's just about a couple of blocks up the street. I went in, there was a whole bunch of people sitting in the eating area, And they all said hi to me, and they was nice to me and everything. I went out because I bought me a ham and cheese croissant with some croquettes, and and I even gave the lady $1 tip because I normally don't tip when I'm doing carry out and stuff like that, or takeout. I normally don't tip. I tip when I mostly do delivery, but it was nice. And I got me an orange juice. Not an orange juice, a apple juice, and I tipped her $1. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna tip her $1. She was nice, she knows everything and stuff like that. But that place there, which is Super Pizzeria Subs, I would not recommend it. And a lot of you, I don't care if you actually come and tell me that that's a great place. I've eaten there before, they're nice and everything. My experience with them is a negative experience, because I tell you this: if you see anybody walking into your establishment, regardless of first of all, I feel that I was disrespected because of the color of my skin. Not saying that was the point, but first of all, anybody that walks into your establishment, even when I went into Ricky's Bakery, I know this is a predominantly Spanish and Latin area. When I went in there, they greeted me with kindness, and they was all happy to me, and I was like, hey, I want to come in, let me buy something, I wanted something to snack on, to eat. And I said, okay, here it is. But at the same time, when I come in there, it shouldn't take me 10 to 15 minutes or more for somebody. Now, I would see if you would say, hi, how are you doing? Give me a second, because you're filling up other orders. I understand that. But the fact that you wasn't really doing orders. You was filling people orders that was there, but you didn't take the time to actually say something to me. A lot of these restaurants that I go in, they'll say hi to me even before I order, and sometimes I have to tell them to hold up, and it got to the point where I was disgusted for about maybe 10 minutes or so, and I just left, because nobody came up to me and said, hi, you need help. Not even the waitresses or waiters or the servers that was there, because they did have them, and not even them, normally, and I didn't sit down. I came up to the counter and everything, because they didn't have an actual menu up, so I didn't know what the menu was. A lot of these restaurants, and a lot of these mom and pop restaurants, they don't have an actual menu board, so they have like the paper menu where you got to look at it. I didn't even get offered a paper menu. So for me, it was a disgusting experience, and I was like, let me just go. And I realized that I never did a food review for them. So my food review is this is my very first bad food review. And I don't too much like to give out food reviews for places, unless you give me a reason. Now, it's called Super Pizzeria Subs. Now, I'm going to tag that location onto this thing so you can see how it is. It says that they do delivery, which is okay, but it's not for me because I don't live in the area. So, and I wouldn't get food from them anyway because of the bad service. Now, if any of y'all who are in the South Florida area has ever been to this restaurant, please let me know. Comment at the bottom of this page. If you want to be anonymous, you can email me rontaber00@yahoo.com. I just want to get y'all review of this place because in reality, I was on my way. I was finna go to Miracle Mile because I was finna get a couple of things from Miracle Mile. And I said, why not stop and see that this store, and I guess they open up later in the afternoon. And I was like, you know what? Let me do a food review. And something told me to do it. And when I talked about the location, I didn't actually go to the location. I was somewhere near. I was like sitting in a park or something. I was talking about, the disrespect. And I ended up, and it was a bad thing. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So it got to me where I saw, and I'm like, should I do a review? Should I do it? And I said, I'm finna do it. So this, my peoples and my fellow viewers, this is Sergio's. This is a Hispanic restaurant that has several locations throughout the South Florida area. I first learned of this location, Sergio's, because they have a location inside of a Walmart in Hialeah Gardens. So that's why I first learned of this location. But back to what I was saying, that location is horrible. Like, and I want to know, have y'all ever been into another neighborhood? Let me know. Have you ever been into a neighborhood where you've been in a different neighborhood than other, like if you're on vacation or if you're somewhere in another neighborhood in the other part of town and you order something from or want to go inside a restaurant and order something to eat and you've been disrespected or been treated poorly, and I just left. I could have called and talked to somebody, but I'm quite sure the owner is a person that probably only speaks Spanish because of the area, but at the same time, I looked at it as if I'm just gonna go. I just rather give somebody else my business. Now, like I said, the location sits off of 23rd. It sits off of Southwest 23rd Street, which is a block away from Coral Way, which is where I'm at now, and Southwest 32nd Avenue. I'm across the street from the Winn-Dixie here, and I just walked from over there. I just did an episode. Now, I'm not gonna do a full 30-minute episode of this. I just want to know, this is my first bad review in South Florida. And like I said earlier, I am going to tag the restaurant in this review so y'all can get an understanding of where it's at. It's called Super Pizzeria Subs. Now, I don't know what type of food they sell in there. I know they sell pizzas, but I don't know if they sell like lasagnas. And it says they sell subs, and I don't know if they sell calzones or whatever, because I'm a big fan of lots of Italian food. I'm a big fan of lasagnas and calzones and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what they actually served in there, because I never got any information on, do they serve this, do they serve that. I didn't get none. So it got to the point where I just got frustrated and walked away, So let me know in the comments, have you ever been to a restaurant? First of all, I have several. First of all, let me know, have you ever been to this restaurant if you live in the South Florida area, and what was your intake of this restaurant? Number 2, have you ever been to a restaurant that treated you that way, where if you're not a regular, they don't, they don't cater to you? Because I feel like they only cater to the people who come there on a regular basis. But you got to realize, as a business, because I done visited this Winn-Dixie before, and I done visited several locations outside of my area too. You have to realize something. Regardless of where your location is at, everybody should be welcome. You could have a visitor from Spain coming into your restaurant, and you all the way in Miami, and they want to buy something to eat or buy something. You have to treat every customer as if they are a regular customer. It doesn't matter if they're regular, they're visitors, or they just in the area and they want something to eat. You have to treat them with respect. So this is my thing. That's 2 things. 1, have you been to this restaurant, and what was your outtake of it? Number 2, have you ever been to a restaurant that did you the same way? Or number 3, do you know anybody that have experienced it? Or even if you did go to a restaurant and you did get service, was the service up to par because you was a first timer in the restaurant, or was it just I'm gonna serve you because you're here, but I don't really care for you because you're not one of my regular customers? Because I see that at a lot of places, and not only that, and also in exotic places, which means strip clubs and stuff like that, and a lot of these restaurants where the regulars get treated more better, especially when you go to these bars and you go to these clubs and stuff. A lot of the regulars get treated more better because of the fact that they come there a lot, and they probably tip the bartenders and stuff like that. And these people that was in that restaurant probably was tipping the restaurant owners and stuff like that to make it to where, hey, we're regulars, make my pizza, give me a beer. And I seen people, they were just going behind the counter and going into the coolers, getting their beers. And I'm sitting there like, so are these workers or just regular people that you trust to get their drinks? Because at the same time, I'm looking at it as if You got a cooler with beers and stuff like that. People just going inside, getting their beers, going to their seats and stuff. And I'm like, what's going on? So it kind of gets me with that. But let me know what you think about it. Comment at the bottom of this page. Email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. I want to know what your intake of this is, because this is one of my baddest reviews that I've ever did. Because all of my food reviews, South Florida, has been good reviews. But this is a bad review, and I am going to tag them in this review. So I want to know how y'all feel. Comment at the bottom of this page. Email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. This is your host, C Money. As always, stay blessed, stay safe, stay hydrated. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.